This won't come as a surprise to you, but I love the church. It's been such a huge part of my story. Now, the truth is, I wasn't raised in church. I was raised in a good family, but I wasn't raised in church. It's just not something that we did. I grew up in a trailer park in Craig, Colorado, and needless to say, there were lots of negative influences. At an early age, I learned to steal and drink and smoke and fight. And to be honest, I remember often thinking that I probably wouldn't even make it to my 21st birthday. And so when I was invited to and walked into a church for the first time, coincidentally as a 21-year-old, it was culture shock to say the least. I mean, imagine this. I was wearing a Corona beer tank top because it was the nicest shirt I had. I had a mullet haircut and an earring. I also had a confused look on my face because I was completely oblivious to what the Bible was all about, and I'd never heard much about Jesus or what he did for the world. But that church was ready for me. They had created a place where I felt welcomed and loved, and where I could quickly and easily find answers to my biggest questions. Soon after visiting there, I decided to give my life to Jesus and to follow him with all of my heart. And I now believe that that church literally saved my life. Looking back, I can see that that church was sort of an intervention to save me from my misguided, crazy lifestyle. But it wasn't just intervention as much as it was prevention. I can't imagine where I'd be today without the influence of the local church, and especially the people who took the time to invest in me and in my life. If everything I learned from them was suddenly stripped away from me, I'd be a total mess. I mean, they taught me to be generous, and they instilled in me a sense of purpose, and they gave me opportunities to serve and to use my gifts for good. Through their encouragement, I began to live my life for others, which has made all the difference in my life. And so, what does my story have to do with you being a partner here at Steamboat Christian Center? Well, as I think about how the church and those people changed me, I assume that there are people in your life who have done the same for you. And now, many of you are probably doing the very same thing for others. But more than that, you are doing it for people who aren't even here yet. You're doing it for people who don't know Jesus yet. It's not so much as intervention for you, it's prevention. Many of you discovered that loving God and loving people isn't just helping those who are standing in front of you today. It's also being ready to love those who the Lord will one day call to himself. Partnership at SCC is all about that. SCC partners have decided that following Jesus means investing in prevention. By prioritizing our serving and our connecting and our giving, we are literally creating a place where people can walk in here and find hope and help for their lives. There are so many hopeless people in our community, and the needs are great. But our dreams are big here at Steamboat Christian Center, and we're looking for people who are ready to partner with us to bring true and lasting change to our world for Jesus. We hope that you'll join us.
Wow, thank you guys for being with us tonight. So good to see you. Man, that dinner was amazing. Hope you have had a good time so far. So tonight we want to talk to you about what it means to partner with Steamboat Christian Center. You all received a booklet as you came in. Everybody have a booklet? Yes? How about raise your hand if you're currently a partner with SCC in 2024? Raise your hand. Give yourselves a big pat on the back. Good job. And how about raise your hand if you're currently not a partner, but you're interested in partnering with us in the next year? Wow, so good to have you guys. Thank you so much for being here. As you know, you've heard it a million times, we have a clear vision here that we want to love God and to love people. And we say that a lot, obviously, but it's good to take a night like tonight and not only clarify why that is our thing, but how we do it and what impact it is making in our church, in our community, and in our world. But I want to talk to you just for a moment about how we do that. You might be thinking, okay, what is partnership? What do partners actually do? Well, like Troy said, we've simplified it into three things, and this is how we love God and love people as SCC partners. We plan to serve, we plan to invite, and we plan to give. Of course, anybody can do these things, and if people are attending here, or if they're followers of Jesus, of course we hope that they do these things, but these things are not just things that we think are important. Jesus asked us to do these things. Number one, he asked us to serve. Jesus said this, that whoever wants to be first must be your slave. What a powerful word. I think he used that word on purpose to illustrate the extreme nature of what it means to serve. He said, just as the Son of Man did not come to this earth to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many. Peter said this, that each of us should use whatever gifts we have received to serve others as faithful stewards of God's grace, whatever we've been given. So Peter is saying, hey, that when you serve on the host team, when you pick up trash, when you do whatever you do around here in our church or our community, we're not just helping out. We're not just doing the church a favor. We are literally being good stewards of what we've been given, of his grace, and we are dispensing it out to the people around us. As we have freely received, we want to freely give. So partners serve, and we 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 serve, right? And when we serve, we discover what it truly means to be a follower of Jesus. Secondly, as followers of Jesus, we recognize that we are plan A on telling the world about the good news of Jesus, and there is no plan B. So as partners, we plan to invite. Okay, I love this line. It's in your book. Check this out. It says, we believe that each of us can do something that could change everything for somebody. We believe that each of us can do something that could literally change everything for somebody. Meaning that when we step into being the hands and feet of Jesus, we have opportunities to do something every single day, everywhere we go, to change everything for somebody. You may have heard this before, but SCC operates as an outward-facing church. We are a church designed to attract unchurched and de-churched people, meaning people who used to go to church. We know tons of those people, right? People who used to go to church, or people who have never been to church. We are designed to attract those people, and hopefully we are creating experiences every single weekend that those people love to attend. And so as partners, we embrace our role in investing relationally with others in our lives and inviting them to SCC and asking God to do what only God can do. Of course, we don't want to stand on the street corner and blow a bull horn and say, you need to do this, like they did when I was growing up. Anybody, right? We're investing in people's lives. We care, we love, and we serve. And at some point, when the time is right, we step out and we invite them to come with us on the weekend at SCC and experience all the benefits of being with great people like you. What are the benefits? The benefits are community and friendship and unconditional love and help, great music and great messages and all that stuff, but it's an environment where Jesus can do what Jesus does, and that is change lives. Amen? And so finally, Jesus asked us to sacrifice and give. And honestly, this is my favorite part. He said it's more blessed to give than receive. And so for many of us who understand that principle, it is truly more blessed to give than receive. And so partners plan to give. Paul said this, for God is the one who provides seed for the farmer and then bread to eat. And in the same way, he'll provide and increase our resources and then produce a great harvest of generosity in us. That's my favorite word. He wants to produce a harvest of generosity in and through us. And this is great. He said, yes, you will be enriched in every way so that you can always be generous. And when we take our gifts to those who need them in our community and around our world, they will thank God. So as followers of Jesus, the one who gave everything to us, we want to be givers and givers as well. I like to say this, go big, give big, or go home, right? Give big or go home. Of course, anybody can be a giver here at our church, and of course, all kinds of people do, but partners plan to give. They make it a part of their habits, and you're going to hear a little bit more about that tonight. So what do partners do? We plan to serve, we plan to invite, and we plan to give. So I want to introduce you to our executive pastor, Mr. Charlie Hill, who is going to share with us some of what we hope to accomplish with partnership in 2025. Here we go. Everybody give it up for Charlie Hill.
That's too much.
All right. Well, yeah, I want to call your attention to our 5 strategic goals. You know, about 3 years ago, we put a team together to determine what it looked like for us to live out this vision of loving God and loving people in our unique way. Carl, you led that, the strategic planning team, and we came up with 5 strategic initiatives or goals and that we would do over the next 10 years. And we are a couple years into that already, and so it's kind of fun to bring them up to you, the core people, the partners of what we're doing and what they're about. So I'm just going to give you a flyby on them. But we recognize, and you can work on this, I'm going to work through this right here in your book, and you can follow along with me. First of all, we knew that we're pretty good at the weekend, and we ought to lean into the weekend. But over time, we recognize that instead of just doing it because we're good at it, who we really are is we want to be an irresistible church. A church where people who don't know Jesus or don't care about church or don't even like church could find a place. And so we're going to build bridges for them. And so when you come on the weekend, hopefully you're seeing how we are trying to do that and break down the barriers so that people can come and be on a journey here and find the good news of loving God and loving people. And so we want to love people well by doing that. And we're going to lean into the weekend. That's how fast I'm going here. The next page, another goal is we are going to lean in to reaching the next generation. Now, I don't know a single church will tell you that they don't want to do that. Every church wants to reach the next generation. But one thing that's cool about SEC is all us old people kind of like all the young people, and we'll give up our preferences for the sake of young people like no other church I've ever seen. And so we have a special, I think, calling and ability to reach young people, and we've invested heavily over the last couple of years. We have 5 staff members that are dedicated towards young people. We have over 100 volunteers that are all about right now reaching young people, all the way from the nursery up to young adults. And that is a huge mobilization. And so I just want you as partners to recognize this is a big investment, and we are really all about that. And you probably are one of those volunteers in this room because you're the core right there. And then thirdly, we already mentioned this, we are all about generosity and benevolence. And if you look at over the last number of years, it's starting to work. Actually, the reputation of Steamboat Christian Center's generosity through the community is starting to happen. And Jesus is starting to be famous because of the fact that we will give, we always say, how do we say this irrational generosity? We'll lead out with irrational generosity. And we have been doing that. We'll do it whether we're doing a Halloween event or we are helping everyone who asks for help with their rent and all of that kind of stuff. And we've got a great heritage that we've been doing with that. And so this is core to who we are. And our generosity is leading out as we love God and love people. And I can't thank you for that. Recovery. We used to say, we love dead people walking around. People who were dead and are now alive. And we have stories over the years here of people who are just that. Where we are trying to help them go from brokenness to wholeness, then to fullness. And we've been working on that, because I tell you this every year, and we've been working on that from last year to this year. I don't know if Zach's in the room here, but our recovery pastor has restarted the Regen program. There's over 60 people coming on a weekly basis, and here's really something cool. I think 30 of them, 50% are men. If you know, that's something we really wanted to do. And I think, Zach, big, strong guy, something like that happens, and men want to be here, and they're here. And so it's happening. People are finding help and wholeness, and that was a big project. And so it's working, and it's going to go even more so. And then finally, we want to lean into empowering leaders. Matter of fact, we are restructuring even how people engage in the church, and we're providing a pathway of engagement that will eventually lead to equipping and empowering you and leaders to be a part of this whole vision. And we're restructuring to do all of that because we know that this doesn't happen just by a few of us. This happens happens by all of us being empowered and equipped to reach people. And so the vision is too large and the goal is too big for just a few. We all need to do that. And so those are our 5 strategic goals. We lean into those and we do everything in light of that. Matter of fact, we start every leadership meeting, our board, with reviewing those so that we're filtering what we're talking about through these 5 initiatives so that we can say we're loving God and loving people well. And there are all kinds of stories. We don't have enough time on the weekend to share a lot of those stories of people that are being impacted through these 5 initiatives and through your partnership with SCC into these initiatives. And so now's our chance to have a few of those stories. And so check this video out.
We didn't know if it was my MS or if it was my back. I was losing my ability to walk. It was really difficult. I started coming back to church because I was scared. I didn't know what was happening. And I needed something. And everyone prayed with me over and over. I was living in a very toxic, alcoholic relationship. It was just miserable. That's when I felt God stepped in. All of a sudden, I had my friends, I had my family, I had people from the church here that I didn't even know, and they literally took care of everything. I was actually on my way to go see the back doctor, and I got a phone call, and it was my neurologist. And he said, "Heather, I just want to tell you that your scans are clear. It's not your MS." And I was so grateful. I praised God because you can't fix that. And he says to me, "But Heather, you have a huge bulging disc in your neck." He said, "I can fix this." I said, "When? Tomorrow?" Time came for my surgery, and I went in. And that's when I felt his spirit. I started talking to God. And I said, "Just take care of me." I just felt so serene, and I felt like I wasn't alone anymore. Throughout this journey, God's placing me where I need to be.
I felt rejected by society. I felt rejected by the world, by my family. So, the meth pretty much numbed every feeling, every emotion, and I didn't care anymore. I didn't want anything to do with anybody. I just wanted to get high all the time. Growing up, I kind of knew that I was different. In high school, when I felt comfortable, with my friends, I just kind of told them, I'm like, "Listen, there's something different, and I think I'm attracted to men." I kind of had it in my heart that I needed to live a life for myself. I started drinking lots. I ended up drinking like maybe a gallon of vodka every other day, with my friends. We went to the clubs and we were just messed up all the time. So I went on this journey, and it's like this fast-paced life. It was just, I didn't care. One relationship, somebody gives me HIV. Another relationship is my drug dealer that's getting me high on meth all the time. Third time, I'm with somebody that I don't even know who they are. I'm getting crushed left and right, and I fell, off the wagon. And this time, when I started using meth, I started shooting up, where I was literally like a zombie, walking dead in the streets, and it was so sad. And at the time, I thought my world was over, and my mom's like, "Patrick, you need to get help, or you're gonna die." Honestly, I wasn't happy when I was in these relationships. I was miserable. And I was like, okay, well, God, I know that you do not desire this life that I've been living. So I don't know what that looks like, but I'm going to hand this over to you and I'm going to surrender everything. So I accepted Jesus into my life and just felt this burden lift off of my shoulders. First day I came into SCC, I was greeted by people gave me a hug, and it just felt like family. And I was like, wow, this is different. I'm like, I can dig this. You know, Pastor Troy helped me with my deposit to move into the place that I'm living now. And, you know, he helped me with my first vehicle. The church paid for half of the car. I'm like, this church loves people, you know, and it's been nice being able to actually have dignity, you know, and respect, and just continue to walk in that. And I'm just really grateful. This church really meets people and helps people where they're at. I truly believe that God wants to use me to help other people and just to show them, you know what? We are to love and meet people where they're at. Throw all labels out the door. You know, I don't consider myself gay, straight, an addict, an alcoholic. I am not defined by any labels that the world wants to throw at me anymore. I know who and whose I am. I'm so enjoying this journey, you know, and I'm so enjoying being able just to be available and help people. You know, you can't help people if you don't help yourself. You know, you can't pour into other people if your cup's empty. Just want to help people, man, you know, one day at a time.
The alcohol was my gateway, was my release, I guess I should say, which is not the best way to go. I was at a dark spot in my life, and I let things get out of control. At one point, I'd spent 2 days over here at Homewood Suites to sober up. And miraculously, the room that they gave me pointed right here to Steamboat Christian Center. And I sat out that window for 2 days, just thinking. I had gotten very confused, depressed, and did not know if I wanted to go on anymore. Things weren't good, and I ended up getting in my truck and driving back up to my spot on Rabbit Ears, looking out, just reflecting on everything and thinking, and getting to the point where I didn't know if I wanted to continue or not. That's one of the lowest points of my life. That's when I decided to call. I reached out to Troy for some advice. The church provided me with some financial support, which was greatly appreciated. And with my son getting baptized, it was drawing me in. In a way, he saved my life and my family. Started reading the Bible again, and miraculously enough, since I was able to admit to the demons that I had and the problems that I had caused, things have started to turn around tremendously. And by the grace of God, I'm here right now. My business is doing well. I'm not drinking like I was. It's a day by day process, and every day I gain a little bit extra. And I know that there's someone always watching over me.
Man, aren't those great stories? And those are just 3 of hundreds that happen at this church all the time. And I'm grateful for Heather and Joe and Patrick sharing their stories with you. In fact, Patrick is somewhere here. There's Patrick right there. Would you stand up real quick, Patrick? Thank you for being part of Christian Center, man. We appreciate you sharing that incredible story. Walking Walking Dead. He recently wrote a book about his experience, and it's been published. Great book. And I encourage you, after the service, he's got a few out there. Check it out. Might be encouraging and a blessing to you, or maybe you know someone who's struggling, and that would bring some hope to them. So thanks, Patrick. Well, of the three things that partners do here, serve, invite, and give, I want to take a few moments to talk about the one that's probably the hardest for most of us. Serving and inviting, that's fun, and that is easy to do. But giving, let's face it, that's clearly a different level of commitment that we're called to be or do. But here's the amazing thing. I don't know if you know this. Every year, for the last 3 years, this church has been able to give over $300,000 to our community and to projects all over the world. Every year we've done that. In fact, this year, hold your applause. This year, that number will be closer to $500,000. I mean, we have broke the bank on benevolence and missions projects and efforts and relief stuff. It's crazy. And I just personally have never been a part of a church that's done that before. I've never been a part of a church that even thought of doing that before. And so it's kind of fun to do that. In fact, one of my favorite things about this job is that I get to walk around this town and I get to see the fruit of your generosity. And I get to hear people's gratitude to this church. I mean, constantly people are saying, you know, aren't you with that church that did this? Or aren't you those guys that helped so-and-so or helped this family? And I get to say yes. Almost 9% of the time it's us and it's you. And I get to say yes because of you. And it's so much fun to bring projects before this church and say, hey guys, let's do something crazy. Let's pay off the building loan for our local food bank. They had a building loan and it restricted their ability to help more people in our community. Let's pay that loan off. Did that one year. Or come to you guys and say, hey, let's pay off medical debt for people in our community who are hurting right now, and being able to do that for hundreds of families. Or during the pandemic, you might remember we just said, hey, let's go to the restaurant owners in our community and offer to help their furloughed employees pay their rent this Christmas. We did that for hundreds of families that year. And that stuff just blows people's minds, man. And what I'll tell you this, it opens their heart. It opens their hearts to Jesus like almost nothing else, because I believe that irrational, crazy giving is supernatural. People just don't naturally do that, and it makes people realize that they're in the presence of something more and good. And so those kind of things we've been doing, and they're fun and they're kind of easy, right? I mean, those things are like a one-time gift that maybe you've given to, or we give a little bit here and we're off the hook. No big deal. We know where the money's going, and we get to kind of see the effects of who it's helping immediately. We get to hear the news on that. But here's the truth: giving to those kind of things isn't exclusively a Christian thing. Let's be honest. That's just not, Christians aren't the only ones that do that. It's more of an American thing. It's kind of who we are as Americans. We love to be generous, and we love to fix things that are broken and step in when there's an emergency. I would call that, and we talked about this last year, you might remember, I would call that 1.0 giving. That's giving kind of at a 1.0 level. Giving 1.0 is when you and I give spontaneously in order to help something specifically. We give kind of like, oh, you meet somebody, go, here, man, I got it. And I give it to you specifically. And that's how most Americans give. We give to something specific, like when a hurricane hits or a fire rages, we give spontaneously because it's an emergency, people need it, and we do it. And that's a good thing. And we should be that kind of a giver, whether we're Christian or not. That's just part of being human, okay? But what makes it possible for Steamboat Christian Center to give hundreds of thousands of dollars every year to special projects is not because of 1.0 givers. It is because many of you have learned how to be a 2.0 giver. 2.0 givers do it differently. They plan their giving. They decide, they pre-decide that they're going to give when an opportunity comes. They're percentage givers. We used to, back in the old days, call it tithing or giving a percentage of your income. They're percentage givers. They think about it before. It's not spontaneous. At the beginning of the year, they make a plan and say, hey, honey, what do we want to give to? Who are we going to give to? Let's make a plan to do that this year. And they give a percentage. Maybe it's 3%, 5%, 10%, 15, 20, whatever it is. Why? They do it because it's a priority. To whom much has been given, much is expected. And if you're living in Steamboat Springs, Colorado in 2024, let's face it, much has been given. right? We have been blessed. We are a blessed group of people, and there are people out there that have nothing, and we've got to do something about it. And so it's a priority, and these people do it. They when they get paid, it just automatically goes, and the first fruit of their labor goes to the organization that they want to support. 2.0 givers, here's something I've learned. They don't have to be asked to give. We don't have to ask them to give. I've never had to plead with 2.0 givers to give. In fact, 3 years ago, I don't know if you noticed this, we completely stopped taking offerings or weekend services. We're going to have a moment of, does anybody remember the day we'd bring the ushers down and let us pray for this offering? We'd pass the bucket. It's been a long time since we've done that. And now the only time that we do that is maybe, every now and then for 1.0 giving projects like for Steamboat, when we're asking people to give, $4 or to a specific project like, given to Ukraine or something like that. But here's the thing, 2.0 givers make irrational generosity on our church's part possible. And nowadays, when I think about how long it takes our church to raise money for a project somewhere or a relief effort that we're doing, it blows my mind. Let me give you an example. This last year, back in the spring, it took us less than 2 weeks to raise $140,000 for Generation U to dig wells in Uganda for people who do not have clean water. Now, that only took us 2 weeks to raise that much money. I remember back in the day, that was 6 or 7 months of the budget for this church. But here's the thing. The reality is, do you know how long that actually took to raise that money? I thought about it. It actually took about 19 years. It took 19 years for our church to get to a place where we could give financially like that. It took 19 years of us talking about being generosity, learning how much Jesus, for God so loved the world that he gave, thinking about that, and building a culture of generosity, and of course, having grateful people who are just grateful for what God has done. And I just want to say this. You may not know this, but 2.0 givers have made all of this and what we are doing here possible. 2.0 givers gave and helped us build that building next door, those buildings next door, and do it debt-free. This building was built in the late 1980s, and it had a $1.4 million price tag on it, and we didn't pay that off until 2010 or so. Took 30 years to pay off a $1.4 million loan. We had about $1.4 million left on that building when it was finished up, and we paid it off in 7 months. That's crazy. That's crazy. 2.0 givers helped hire the staff that we have, an incredible staff. Don't we have a good staff here? We got great people that love, and they're working so hard. 2.0 givers helped buy the curriculum that we teach our kids and help pay the electric bill and buy the coffee that we give out every weekend. If you're a 2.0 giver, you're the reason that all of this is happening. And I don't say this enough, but thank you. Seriously. Thank you for getting it, that this just doesn't magically happen, and that there's an investment, and I appreciate you leading the way with generosity. And here's the other good news. I couldn't wait to tell you this. You guys have gotten better. At last year's Vision Dinner, I reported this statistic. We had found that 43% of SCC partners, people who had signed up to be a partner, count on me to serve and to invite and to give, 43% of SCC partners had not given anything to their church that year. And that we were in November. We're like, whoa, something's wrong. It was kind of embarrassing for me as a leader and something that got lost in translation. And so last year I challenged you and I challenged our partners to do better. And I'm thrilled to report to you this. As of today, 90% of our current partners have given something to the church this year. Yeah, that's cool. Thank you for that. And that makes a huge difference in what we do and allows us to do more. But let me be real clear. If you're starting to check out right now and you're feeling uncomfortable, you're a male and you're reaching for your wallet, listen, we're not going to take an offering. And the other thing I wanted you to know is that this church does not, and I got board members here that know the financials better than I do. This church does not need your money. We don't need your money. In fact, you probably wouldn't attend this church if it did. Right? I mean, if you went to a church that really needed your money, you probably wouldn't go there for very long. You've been there and you would hate it. Your kids would hate it because you would feel that pressure all the time and it'd be a bad scene. But we're fortunate. This church doesn't need your money, and that's probably one of the reasons why you kind of like it, because we don't talk a lot about it. And we're just doing, and it's fun. And so my point is this, is that supporting your church with your money is not a need issue. It's not a need issue. It's not about need. It's a stewardship issue. It's a recognition that God has given us everything that we have and that we need to use it for not only ourselves, but for the kingdom. It's a discipleship issue. And I'll say this to you. Jesus said it's a heart issue, that it's a way to kind of reveal where your heart is. And 1.0 giving is more emotional giving. It's kind of being caught up and feeling a little pressure, and you see a need, your heartstrings get tugged, and then you give what you feel that you can afford in that moment. And that's, again, what most Americans kind of do, but that's not what Jesus followers are called to do. And that's not what partners we're asking you to do. We are 2.0 givers. It's not just an emotion. We're not giving when we feel it. We give, actually, here's the thing. We don't give to just a need. We give before the need actually arrives. We know this world is broken, and there are going to be opportunities to help fix that. And we give before it comes along. We give before the need. And when we do that, what we're doing is we're preventing tragedy. We're preventing further tragedy. I mean, think about it. Which is better? Would you rather be cured of cancer or totally avoid that whole thing altogether? Yeah, no one wants to go through that, right? Would you rather try to save your marriage in divorce court, or would you rather just avoid getting and going to a divorce? I think all of us. So here's the thing, and you heard me say it earlier. Prevention is better than intervention. Prevention is better than intervention. When we give first, before the need comes along, we are preventing bad things from happening in the first place. We're bringing the Shema, the kingdom of God, the peace, the shalom of God to our community. We're preventing things from breaking down and families breaking down. We're helping people. When we give first, we're helping people find Christ before their crisis happens, before the divorce, before the DUI, before the rehab. That's prevention. And so here's the challenge. Because of all the prevention work that this church does in this community, I can't really get up here and tell you tonight how many people did not end up in rehab last year because of this church. I can't tell you how many marriages did not end up in divorce because of what this church has done. I can't tell you how many children did not end up in foster care because of our programs and our family and our caring for families who are in trouble. I can't tell you how many people did not commit suicide last year. I can tell you this, though. I know at least one. I mean, now I know two. I remember Joe. But just this last week, Monday night in Regen, Zach told us this, that a fella came in and said, I'm glad I came here tonight because today I was thinking about taking my life. And I'm not going to do that now. That's just one. I don't know how much that's worth, but more than we probably can imagine. And so we can't measure what we're preventing, but I can tell you it's happening all around us every day. And it's happening because a bunch of people like you have decided to follow Jesus as 2.0 givers. You're making a big and lasting difference in our community. So, as I conclude, as partners of this church, I am not unashamed. I'm not ashamed, and I'm not shy, and I won't be shy about challenging you to commit to joining us in 2025 as we continue to serve, invite, and help bring life and hope to our community. And we have a big dream. Those are big things. We want to see those things maxed out in the next 5-10 years, 5 things, and I hope that you can help us. Hope you can help by serving and inviting and by giving. And regardless if you become a partner or not tonight, by the way, because I encourage you, wherever you are on this, that you would try it. That you would try to step into some of those things. Even if you don't become a partner, try to serve a little bit more. Maybe try to give a little bit more. Try to invite a few more people and see if something extraordinary doesn't happen in your life. I mean, just see. And here's the thing. I guarantee that something extraordinary will happen in someone's life, though, if you'll do that. Because that is happening here almost every day. I'm telling you, it's crazy. And so, like I told you before, I love the church. I literally don't know where I'd be without it and without you, and I'm grateful for having you all in my life and being a part of this. And what the church has prevented in me and in my life is immeasurable. You can't measure it, but it's real. It is real. And now I want to do for others what you and others have done for me. That's the only logical response to grace and generosity, is to do for others what's done for me. And I hope you'll partner with us to do that in 2025, and we'll do the same. And so, all of that to say this, that if you would like to become an official partner of SCC, as you heard, we just asked you to commit to 3 things. And we're asking our former partners last year to recommit this year, to say, I want to do it again. Commit to do 3 things: serve, invite, and give. I just want to be clear, this is not about checking a box. So some of you are like rule followers. How much do I serve? How much do I give? How many people do I have to invite, Pastor? There's a heart behind this. I hope you get that. That's why we don't talk a lot about this, because there's a heart behind it that we hope that you're picking it up by osmosis as you follow Christ. And so it's a heart. But doing these 3 things will consistently make a huge difference in our community and help our church reach its full potential. And I will say to you, this next year, we're going to really work hard on inviting and challenging us to invite and to think about, to invest in friendships and invite people to come and experience kind of the cool things that happen here every weekend. I mean, I get so often people that have been here, never been here before, just coming down and tell me, this was a lot better than I thought it would be. Or, I had a woman last week tell me about a dream that she had 3 weeks ago, could not understand it. Woke up in the middle of the night. In the dream, woke up to someone knocking on our front door and went downstairs, opened the door, no one was there. Went back upstairs, knock happened again, went back downstairs, opened the door, and was no there. 3 times she did that, and that was the dream. And then the next week she came here and heard me go, Jesus said, behold, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone asks, she goes, do you think Jesus is knocking on my door? I said, I don't know, but that sounds like a plausible idea. And she's like spooked. And we couldn't have planned that. That was crazy. So God is doing some crazy things, and it's so fun. And so I want to just challenge you to, if you would like to be a partner, help be a part of this, doing those 3 things consistently, inviting people, letting them experience it, serving, finding a place to give your time and your talent, and of course, giving a little bit of your treasure. This will help our church reach its full potential and fulfill our calling in our community. If you'd like to partner with us doing that in 2025, on the back of that little thing there, you'll see a little thing that says invitation, and there are 3 things. I will plan to serve, I'll plan to invite, and I'll plan to give. And again, you decide what you can do in each one of those things. You decide. Once a month, maybe serve a couple times a month. If you want to do more, find a place to invite people. Just think about when, a good time to invite someone was when someone says to you, hey, I just moved here. Hey, let me tell you about my church. Or, hey, we're going through a tough time right now. Man, we're going through struggles. Hey, you know what? You got to come sit with me at my church. I think you'll enjoy it. I know church can be, but man, I think you'll be encouraged. Think about that. Look for those opportunities. And lastly, plan to give. Give a percentage, whatever you're able to do, and give that and be consistent in it. If you're a current partner, I encourage you to fill that out and sign it again. If you're new and you'd like to jump in, that makes you an official partner. I'll talk to you a little bit about what that means in a second, about how you can, there's some benefits in there being a partner. You can see I'm going on a mission trip. I don't want to get into that. But before you do this, and I'm going to give you a minute to do, there's a pin. I just want to pray that God would give you wisdom and maybe a little courage to take the next step and to do this. Here's the thing. Most of you that are here, many of you, almost all of you that are here, the reason you're here is because you're already doing those things. So it should be an easy thing for you. And that's between you and the Lord. But let me pray for you. Father, thank you for this church. And when I say church, I do kind of mean this building. We're grateful for it. And we thank you for the previous generations that came before and had a vision and give us a great place to use for your glory and to reach people and to meet with each other. But Lord, we thank you for the church. I mean, the people here, they're the church. And I thank you for their hearts and that they take a Thursday night to come out here and just consider stepping into something that you have for them that could really make a big difference in the lives of other people and definitely in their own lives. So give us wisdom, give us courage to take that step, help us know what to do and to follow through with it. In Jesus' name I pray, and if you agree with that, say amen. I want to give you a minute or two, if you'd like, just to go ahead and fill that out if you want to real quick. Again, I want to ask if you're a current partner, if you'd like to help be a partner again, just please re-sign that up again, put your name on there and do it. If you should see a pin, and are there pins? No one's reaching for their pen? Oh my God, that scares me. We're okay. Are there pens? Do you have pens? Does anybody need a pen? Share a pen? Give you a minute. Hey, while you're doing that, let me just remind you that we will have another partners meeting in February. The second or third week of February, we do a partners meeting. It's kind of our business meeting. We share with you what we'd spent on last year, the budget, and we also elect our board members. We have 9 board members that are elected from within our partnership. And so we have several that have term limited out or moved away or are moving away. And so we're looking for some new, fresh meat. Some of you are like, please do not nominate me. It's actually a fun ministry, but only partners can serve in that role, and we would not, make you do it. We would ask you perhaps, but that happens at our February meeting. And then next summer, we will have a partners barbecue, and that will just be fun. It'll be a great way to connect and meet with each other, just out on the lake, out on Catamount, and we'll celebrate some of the good things that God is doing. No big deal. It'll be just kind of a fun thing to do. As I close, and as you're still kind of filling those out, I want to give you a preview of what we are planning for this year. This last year, as of November, our church has grown. Based on the numbers we're looking at, we have grown by 10 to 15%. We're not 100% sure all of that, but that's incredible. Most churches would die and actually kill to grow 4 or 5%. And we've had 10 to 15% growth in a little town that we're kind of limited on how many people we can reach. But that growth exposed 3 big challenges that will help us or inhibit continued growth. The 3 of them are this: parking lot, our foyer right up through those doors, where the donuts are. And by the way, I saw some of you actually laying odds on how many donuts Pastor Troy ate. Whatever. The answer is 2 little donut holes, all right? So far this evening, it might change a little bit. We'll see what's left out there. Some of you were walking in with 4 donuts. Call me hog, whatever. So the foyer, that little foyer, and our children's ministry, Steamboat Kids. Let me talk to you about our parking lot. Our parking lot is packed. Specifically, it's packed on Sunday morning at 10:30. This last weekend, which is we're in mud season. This isn't even the big time. 10:30 service, there were 2 spaces out there that we could find. And there were cars parked on Doherty Road next to our neighbors over there. And I don't know who comes to 10. Well, don't raise your hand, but I've heard that getting out of here after 10:30 can be a challenge, getting on the highway. And so I'm going to ask my partners. I don't know what else to do. We can't build more parking lot. I'm going to ask some of you that if 10:30 is your service, would you consider maybe moving to 9? Please still come, but maybe move to 9, or maybe come on Saturday night at 6. It might help open up. We've tried to create a little shuttle bus, and we might have to do that this winter to maybe ask people to park offside. Some of our volunteers will make it as convenient. And I know some of you are like, I don't want to deal with that. Neither do I. But you know what I don't want to see is someone coming to this church for the first time and cruising through the parking lot once and not finding a parking lot and going back out, or parking spot. And so if that's the sacrifice we need to make, I just want to plant that in your head. But thank you for coming. Thank you for bringing your friends. And if they can only come at 10:30, you come. We'll make sure you have a space, but help us with that. Number 2, our foyer is so small. And it is chaos. I want to just challenge you, the next time you come on like a 10:30 or one of our packed services, just walk in there as if you're brand new into that little room, and you're just like everybody, and it's crazy and it's intimidating, and it's just hard to navigate, and everybody, and of course there's a lot of love in that room, but it's just intimidating, and it's not a lot of space to have real conversations afterwards. And then our kids ministry is out in the other foyer where all their check-in is, and so that's chaos. And so our foyer is really hurting us in being able to connect with people who do come and helping them find their next steps. And so we're thinking about how to renovate that foyer and those foyers and expand them a little bit. And we've got some plans. I'll talk to you a little bit more about that. And kids ministry, well, if the church has grown 10 or 15%, the kids ministry, the numbers are 20%. And that's been great. And we're thinking about revamping our kids' ministry and perhaps putting our children's ministry and the check-in in our kids' building so that there's one building where all families go with their kids. That would eliminate some of the chaos in there. It would be safe. We'd have 3 environments for the children over there. And so we're just thinking about painting and putting in a check-in down in the bottom and doing some of that. Nothing super big, but we think that would help. Plus the kids, when they're in that gym, that's just chaos in there too. You got 20 kids swallowed up by a big gym. We knew that when we did. It's a lot of fun. And we'll still keep the inflatables. Your kids, if you go home, they're booting the inflatables. Don't tell your kids. But we'll keep those for after the ministry is over and they can come hang. But we're thinking about moving that in. So we're looking at those things. And so this year, I just want to give you a heads up. You're the first to hear this. Every year we do an end of year giving campaign and we give to, some organization. We're thinking that maybe we would ask people that this house needs a little help. And that maybe we'd ask, perhaps, and we've got a lot of people that come to this church just during the season and they want to give. We hope that we would give a little something to the house and that we can, with a project, that we can fix some of these things and help us maximize and capture the growth that we've had and continue. So I'm just telling you that, and that's all. All right, so as we close tonight, you should have got that. Tear that off if you want. I'm going to ask you to hold on to that, and as you leave tonight, just give it to Bailey and Hadley at the door, or one of our peeps. But I have one more thing I want you to do, and here it is. I want you, if you haven't already, to dream big with us. We have been given so much in this church, and our board sits around every month, and we look at each other going, why are we so blessed? Why is it that this church has so many great people, great facilities, great reputation? What are you doing? And we just sense that God has been preparing us for something even greater. I talked to, Ben was back east at a college, talked to a professor of youth ministry, and he told him I'm at Steamboat Christian Center. And that guy said, in Steamboat Springs? And he goes, yeah. He said, I went to that church in about 2003. He said, there were 50 people at that big old log church. He said, there's 700 people there. Ben's like, well, that's an attendance. We've had people watching online, another 1,000, 1,500 people. That Pat said, I can't picture that. That's crazy. And so God is doing something here. We're trying to read the tea leaves, and if anybody's got a gift of prophecy, help us figure this out. But we believe, and so I want to stir that up in you as you look to next year. I want you to dream big. I want you to think about maybe imagine what if. We started a Christian school a couple years. It's great, fantastic. The school is doing well. I want you to think and imagine, what if God did this? What if God did this in our church? What would it be? What if God did this in our community? What if God, it could be personal. What if God did this in my family? There's that person, that family member, husband, wife, child, far away from God, and I'm praying that the light bulb will go on. They came to Jesus. What if this year was that? What if that happened? In fact, I was sitting with Carl Lee at the Skate Church benefit with the Lees, and we were sitting in that Family Life Center, and we remembered the day that this crazy church, some of you weren't here, we went outside this door after service, and we marched on a piece of land right here that was empty. And we did a little Jericho march where we walked around 7 years. You can imagine people on the highway driving by. There go the Christians again. And then on the 7th time, we all took our kazoos out. We were dreaming big. I told you, hey, let's build a building. I didn't think we could do it. God did it. God did it. And so I want you to dream about what God could do in our church, in your family, in our community this next year. And just get you thinking about that. And I believe that God's dreams are probably bigger than yours. So go big or go home and maybe hold on to that. And in fact, you'll see right here, we have this what if chart here. In a minute, I'm going to ask you and give you a chance to come up and grab one of those cards, go back to your seat and write down something. It could be a name, it could be a marriage, it could be a prayer. Just write it down and then come and put it back up there. You don't have to sign your name to it. And then we'll pray over those together at the end. Is that cool with y'all? Can we do that as a church? Is that all right before we go? Give me 3 minutes to do it? All right. Why don't you guys come forward real quick, grab one of those, take it back, and then we'll pray together, and then we'll let you put those things on there. Go ahead. I want to pray with you, and I want us to pray together. I used to go to a little church in Craig, and at the end of every service, the pastor had us all stand up, and we had to grab hands. Anybody remember those days? I don't know. I think we ought to do it tonight, because this is our core. So can I ask you to stand and grab the hand of the person next to you? Maybe you can stretch across the aisle if you'd like. And old-fashioned prayer. You can finish writing your prayer here in a minute, but I want to pray and give God an opportunity. Is everybody good? Are we good? Everybody got a hand? Come on. All right. Okay. So I'm 1 minute late. Is anybody angry? Get a donut. Let's take a moment to pray and ask God. And then when we're done, you are dismissed. I want to thank you for taking your time and coming here in our hearts and joining us in this great crusade that God has put us on, this journey together. Someday we're going to be in heaven, and we're going to be thinking about, man, that was fun. That was a cool thing that we were a part of down there. We helped change a community. And that's the great thing about ministry in Steamboat, is that we can actually kind of measure it. We can see it. If you were down in Denver, we wouldn't know if we're making a drop in the water. But here, you can sense that. And so I look forward to doing that with you. And I thank you for coming. Make sure, if you'd like to be a partner, or if you'd like to re-up, drop your cards with those folks at the doors. We appreciate it. Here we go. Father, we thank you for all that you've done in every one of our lives. We can't think of more than 3 or 4 right now, but we know you have been there over and over and over again. You have opened doors. You have provided things. You have been there. Some of the people that we're holding hands with, we met by chance, and it changed our life forever. And we sensed that it was you blowing into the sails of our life. You said that the steps of a righteous man or woman of God are ordered of God. And so that you have directed us, and we thank you for that. We thank you for all the things you've done. And this year, we think about these 2 things. I think about my family member that I'm praying for. I don't know how many more years he's got left, but I pray that you would break his heart, you would soften his heart, and that this would be the year that he would give his life to Christ. And I pray for our church, and I pray for a specific thing, Lord. It's between you and I pray that you would do that. And as everyone here, we all have these things in our hearts. You see them. We lift them up to you, God, and we join together in faith, believing that what we ask for we'll receive. And so in our minds and our hearts, we imagine some of these things actually happening, because that's the kind of God you are. You gave us an imagination to dream big, because you're a big God and you can do big things. And so, Lord, I pray that you would work on our behalf for these things, Lord, and we will give you all the glory next year when we come back and go, I remember what you did, Lord. Thank you for how good you've been to us and how good you've been to this church. Guide us and direct us this next year, I pray. In Jesus' mighty name. All God's children say amen.